CM Storm Alcor 4000 DPI mouse, although I'm going to be using this with firmware 2.2.1, which apparently gives steps of 400, 800, 1600 and 2000. Liftoff distance at 1.7mm, we will check that later on though. So usually I do a review with just one mouse, but I think the best way to explain the Alcor is actually to compare it with the Zowie EC2-A. Neither of these mice seem to have any software. I know the Zowie doesn't, and I just can't find any for the Alcor. They're both very plain texture-wise. It's just plastic, it's only got one LED that changes with the DPI setting, and they're even a similar size. You could actually say that both of these are like small Death Adders. Just that very safe, ergonomic shape. Let's just do some click testing. Left mouse button on the Alcor. Right mouse button. Scroll wheel. Mouse 4 and 5. Overall, not a bad performance. The buttons do rattle a bit, as does the scroll wheel, but it's not too bad, as long as you can get this mouse for a cheaper price. DPI buttons you wouldn't use too often, but here's what they sound like. Now let's do the click comparison. Compared to the Zowie. So it's a much harsher click on the Zowie. Some people do complain that the shell is too hard, so you'd think they'd be happy with these being light to press in, much easier, and they're segmented from the shell. Whereas the Zowie, it's all just one piece. Scroll wheel steps, CS players should be happy with the Zowie. There's enough tactile feedback there to know when it's notching. As for the Cooler Master Alcor, also quite good. Neither are as good as the Logitech G302 or G303 as far as tactile feedback goes, but they're not spongy like the Death Adder. And for scrolling, fast scrolling down a web page, it's not too bad, it's pretty noisy though. Zowie, as I said in the review, a bit too clicky. Where the Alcor definitely wins in my opinion, side buttons. Compared to the huge travel of the Zowie, I do not like these side buttons. I like everything else about this mouse pretty much, except these side buttons. They're the major flaw for me. Not a big one, but still something that I really hope they change in the future. The Alcor, just plain and simple, fairly flat, barely any travel time at all. And while they do rattle from time to time, I think they're a lot better. One interesting thing I've noticed is actually the plastic. So the right side seems like it's essentially the same, and if you're just looking at it you'd think it would be. Not shape-wise, but the materials and the textures. But when you rub your fingers over them, listen to the noise difference. Now the Alcor is a lighter mouse, so it's bound to make more noise because it's more hollow in there. But the Zowie materials actually do feel like they're just a bit higher quality. I mean, you got the scroll wheel and everything rattling on the Alcor. The Zowie seems like it's better built. And so it should, because it's about $20 more, so this is a more premium mouse. And that's why I'm reviewing these two together, because this one, the Alcor, actually seems like the cheaper version of the Zowie EC2-A. It doesn't quite have the quality, but overall it's about the same. Similar materials, similar look, no software. Both the cables are just standard smooth rubber, neither drag. I think the Zowie again is a bit higher quality. So here's a good look at the shape. Got the usual slope down the side. They've kind of indented the plastic a little bit to create that edge. Doesn't get in the way, doesn't feel uncomfortable. I don't know if it adds to the experience. Feels fine. Very safe shape on the side here with just enough curve to be comfortable. And on the left side, I'd say that there's more of a thumb rest on the Alcor. I think I prefer the Zowie EC2-A. You can see there, it's just not as curved. On the Alcor, you have 4 small mouse feet. On the Zowie, you have 2 large ones. Which do I prefer as far as gliding on the mousepad? That's a definite win for the Zowie. In terms of measurements, the Alcor is about 5.5 centimeters across at the grip width, so between your fingers, and the EC2-A is about the same. The base of the EC2 is about 11.5 centimeters, and the Alcor is slightly longer at 12 centimeters. Height-wise, they almost look identical. It's really tough to get a measurement on height, but I think it's about 4 centimeters. The humpback seems to be further back on the Alcor. And for me as a palm gripper, I actually prefer the EC2-A in that regard as well. The Alcor doesn't feel as natural in the hand, but I think it'll suit fingertip grippers and maybe claw grippers a little bit better. You'll also notice that the front is a lot higher on the EC2-A as well. I think that's better for most grips, claw, palm, and even fingertip. The differences are slight, but they do have an effect. In fact, because these mice are so similar, it got me thinking, why is the Zowie so much better than the Alcor? And I think the answer is in the subtlety. While the EC2-A does seem like a very basic mouse, every little curve that you see on this mouse is carefully planned to make your hand feel comfortable on it. And that's why so many people are actually saying this is one of the most comfortable mice around. Because it really does just fit in the hand beautifully. I mean, even check out the base. The EC2-A has this curved sort of edge, whereas this is sort of sharp and angled. So that's the key difference between the shapes. This feels flat and angled, even though it does have rounded edges, whereas this just feels completely curved and rounded and nice. Again though, the Alcor isn't uncomfortable. It's going up against my favorite mouse, so don't think I'm judging it harshly. It's still a very safe, easy to get used to design, and I quite enjoy using it. And if you can't get the EC2-A, then this might be an option. But I'll quickly note, maybe they went for a lightweight mouse rather than a high quality one. So you strip down on the materials, it will become lighter. This is only an 88 gram mouse. EC2-A, 96 grams. Doesn't sound like much, but you can definitely tell there's a weight difference, and if you do prefer the lighter mice, the Alcor might actually be a better option. Let's move on to some sensor testing. So straight line test with the Alcor, no jitter, just human error in there, and no angle snapping. And circles with the Alcor, again, no problem. Lift off distance, at 3 DVDs we see the Alcor can move a little bit, at 2 DVDs we have full movement. Now they said it was 1.7mm on the Alcor, but a DVD is meant to be 1.4mm high, so that's more like 2.8. So maybe another version of the firmware does change that. Either way, 2 DVDs isn't too bad. Now for some rocket jump tests with the Alcor. And this should be at the 2000 DPI setting. I've got it at sensitivity 0.77. And so far, feels pretty good. So most of the time when I was rocket jumping, it felt pretty good in game. Can't say I had any real problems with it. However, I did see some spin outs, so I'm going to try to replicate that. It might have just been with the other firmware. So now let's do those tests and we'll just throw the mouse really quickly. And there you see, it didn't track. No. Let's try a fast rocket jump. So it can handle some good speed. I mean, the fact that it could actually keep up with that is pretty impressive. I don't think you'd ever actually make this spin out in game, like the Logitech G302. While it does spin out after say 3 meters a second, to actually get that speed, and you have to throw it that quickly. And the fastest I'd rocket jump is that. But I'm too lazy to do that all the time. You get so tired flicking the mouse like crazy like that. So personally, I'm happy with that. That wouldn't actually bother me in game. It's not the best sensor on the market, obviously, and it is a cheaper sort of mouse, but it performs well enough and it didn't let me down while I was in the intense moments of the games. So decent performance. I'm not going to test the EC2-A now because obviously I've reviewed that already, and it was solid and perfect. I couldn't find a problem with that sensor. Moving on to the sniper test. Just going to do really slow movements. It seems to be detecting pixel by pixel. That's a good sign. Just upping the speed a little bit. And it seems pretty smooth to me. I mean, it is 2000 DPI. I'm not sure I can tell the difference between 2000 and 3200. But I'd be happy to play on those settings. I mean, this is FFV1, it's super zoomed in. Okay, now I have it on 400 DPI, I think. If my memory serves me correctly. Zoomed in. Let's do pixel by pixel. Clearly not as smooth as a higher DPI, but still a fairly good performance. It's tracking all the movements. Let's speed it up now. Of course I prefer the 2000, but that's a pretty good performance. Rocket jumping, can I make it spin out of 400 DPI as well? Okay, not while rocket jumping, maybe a fast one? No. So that's fine, but as soon as I throw the mouse, yeah, just spins out. Now I'm just going to test the acceleration and deceleration on the mouse to see if there is any. I've just performed this test a few times and found there's deceleration, so we'll see what happens this time. Here we go. And you can see like it landed there. My fingers are in the same spot. So there is some slight deceleration on this sensor at 400 DPI and 2000. In terms of responsiveness, or snappiness as I call it, it feels pretty good. It's a lightweight mouse, so it does actually just feel light and easy to move around. I've set the EC2-A at 400 DPI as well now. And I can tell there's more weight in the mouse, but the sensor actually feels more responsive in the EC2-A. Don't quote me, I don't have a scientific method of testing this. But if I had to guess, and just based on feel, it does seem like the EC2-A sensor is better. Which isn't really a surprise, we know it's a better sensor. Aim-wise, it seemed good for projectiles, sniper weapons, and even rapid fire. I was pretty confident and comfortable with it, even in pressure situations, and that's a good sign for any mouse. And I guess that's my conclusion. If you want a cheaper version of the EC2-A that doesn't quite have that premium build quality, then this is a really good mouse. It's such a safe shape, it is a smaller Death Adder. If you have large hands though, obviously get the Death Adder. But if your hands are anywhere between say 15 and 19 centimeters, this could be an option for you. The clicks are nice and responsive, so I wouldn't mind using this in say MOBA or RTS games. But most importantly to me, it's good for first person shooters. So I hope that helps you make your decision. I'll leave an Amazon link in the description for you if you do want to buy this mouse. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video to help it come up in search results. And check out the website for recommendations and mouse reviews at rocketjumpninja.com. I'll also leave that link in the description. Any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.